Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and I always find it amusing when the developers of PUBG do something completely stupid, at least in terms of player perception, when it seems to be a bi-monthly occurrence at this rate. And I'll admit, I had almost missed this in the deluge of industry stupidity that seems to be at an all-time high in 2018, which is why I'm now sitting here talking about an announcement that was released over a week ago on May 3rd. Now, in that announcement, Kim announced that PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds would be turning off people's ability to engage in personal trades for all PUBG items. The reason for this? Well, money, of course, but let's talk about the how and the why. You see, in that statement, they make the point that people are selling items via third-party sites, which involves a personal trade. This works by that site being granted access via the Steam API to engage in market purchases and item trades. This allows items to be sold on third-party sites for cheaper than they can be purchased in the Steam marketplace, as there's no transaction fees involved. Basically, the item is sold on the site, but Valve and PUBG see it as a person-to-person trade within Steam, where the seller trades the item via the external site to the buyer through the use of that Steam API. This is the exact same API that is used by skin and crate gambling sites as well, to great effect. Now, those gambling sites, unlike casinos, don't have to maintain inventory on hand, and thanks to Steam's API, when a person wants to cash out, these sites require a hold on the transaction, which is the time it takes for their system to purchase the item on the Steam marketplace and then trade it to the gambler. These gambling sites, with the exception of some CSGO sites a couple of years ago, are generally allowed by Valve under the mentality of, as long as we get our cut and you don't cause us any legal trouble, we don't care. Game developers that rely on skinonomy games also profit from these gambling sites, as when a person cashes out, the end item still has to be purchased on the Steam marketplace. Not so if these third-party sales sites are allowed to continue to exist. And just so we're clear, Valve and the game developers do profit from every transaction on the Steam marketplace in regards to Steam trading cards, profile backgrounds, skins, crates, crate keys, emotes, and anything else you can think of in relation to their game. Now, I've gotten several comments in the past that basically boiled down to citation fucking needed, as people weren't willing to accept that these developers were greatly enriching themselves in this way, and up until last week, I hadn't been able to find the actual documentation. I'd been relying on what some Valve employees had stated in the past and what some game developers had told me, but we were never actually clear on the exact percentages or the documentation that stated those percentages. That is, until now. Now, this document on your screen, many of you will probably have never seen nor heard of before. It is the Steam distribution agreement that is signed by all Steam game developers. Anyone entering into a partnership with Steam sees this document, and the information therein is under a confidentiality clause. Thankfully, as I've never signed or accepted said agreement, I myself am not required to keep it private, although my sharing this with you is probably really going to piss off Valve. So if I disappear under mysterious circumstances, Gabe Newell or Andrew Watt should probably be the prime suspects, and I will expect a great many tears over my untimely demise. That said, the citation that was so badly needed before is in section 641 of the Steam distribution agreement, in which it states, Valve charges a transaction fee for each sale made in a community market, which is typically equal to 5% of the amount paid for the item sold, although Valve may adjust this transaction fee in its sole discretion. The transaction fee and the sales proceeds received by the seller in connection with the sale of a virtual item are excluded from adjusted gross revenues. In addition to the transaction fee, a game fee may be assessed for each sale made in a community market. Valve may provide company with the ability to set or change the game fee percentage. If company does not specify a different game fee percentage, the default percentage shall be 10%. So this means that by default, if the sale price of a PlayerUnknown skin item were $400, which is not out of the realm of possibility, then Valve makes a cool $20 and the developers make a handy $40 off of that one single transaction. And given the high number of purchases that are made on the Steam marketplace when it comes to skins being bought and sold either directly or through gambling sites purchasing skins for people cashing out, you can imagine just how lucrative this skinonomy can actually be for the developers and for Valve. Now, I won't go into how they doubled down on this further by implementing loot box gambling overly much, but it is there, and it is designed partly to psychologically take advantage of players, but is also used as a methodology to create the falsified scarcity of items that these digital goods markets employ. You see, digital items are infinitely repeatable, but they are only deemed to be rare at the whims of the game's developers and whatever drop percentage they decide the item should have. This percentage, given the current lack of regulations, can be modified at will by the developers, and we have only their word that they aren't engaged in manipulating the system that they themselves created. But this decision is a clear and blatant move to protect the developer's income. If these items are bought and sold via third-party sites, then quite frankly, the dev doesn't get their cut of those transactions, and given what we can now see within the Steam agreement, that can be a pretty sizable chunk of change, especially when you're dealing with items that are valued at hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And quite honestly, they're really not wrong to want to protect their income. The problem here is there's really no way for them to stop it from happening unless they leave direct item trading turned off permanently, and their doing so could actually end up hurting the skinonomy of their own products. You see, while yes, these third-party sites do allow for items to be sold externally to the system, shutting down item trading will in actuality also kill the third-party gambling sites who, while yes, they do purchase the items to be able to cash out players, still have to be able to trade those items to those players through the Steam API. If they're unable to do that, then the gambling trade will shut down, and with people only being able to buy and sell skins directly through the Steam marketplace as opposed to trading them with friends, I can imagine that people won't be willing to pay quite as much for them, and once that happens, people will be forced to sell their skins for less and less money, and once that happens, your entire skinonomy business model enters into the circling the drain effect, where one constantly feeds off the other, in this instance driving down the value of skins. And the reason for that? Well, at this time, to my knowledge, or the knowledge of anyone else I've asked, there's no way for developers or Valve to limit item trading to friends only, and then even that would be easily circumvented by these sites, as whatever requirements imposed by the developers or by Valve will simply be mirrored on those sites in order to comply to be able to continue these activities. And actually, I don't personally see a problem with this. These skinonomies and the unregulated gambling that invariably follows them around like vultures are a terrible system for a host of different reasons. The PUBG developers ran into this problem because they're showing yet again that they aren't simply content with a Mount Everest-sized pile of gold. No, they want all the money and have and will continue to go to great lengths to get it. Meanwhile, their chase for even more funds leaves their game being slowly left in the dust by better, more polished, and more fun battle royale products that don't rely on skin gambling as the basis of their business model. But what do you think about all of this? Do you think I'll be expecting a lawsuit from Valve after disclosing some of their contractual information? Do you think I'm wrong about the PUBG developers and their Scrooge McDuck fascination with money? Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're at it, if you like this video and like what I do on this channel, maybe hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, and maybe share the video on Twitter or Facebook. At the very least, the Steam contract information is interesting itself. Now, thanks for watching. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and I'll see you next time.